Are there ever days that you just don't have the get up and go? There are some days that I wake up ready to seize the whole day and just, put my head down and keep going. Then there's other days that I wake up and I'm like, I don't know what to wear. I don't know what to do. I don't even know what I really want to do. My brain just slows the heck down. Well, today's one of those days. And as I was recording this podcast, I had some insights for you about these days. And I hope that you take inspiration from them. I hope that you see that good is good enough because God is great enough. So let's dive in. Hey, and welcome to the Full Weight of Joy podcast, the podcast for women who are done stressing about the weight of the world, of expectations and settling for status quo, and ready to step into the full weight of joy. Joy in the journey, whether up or down, joy through the life's challenges, and joy in loving your life right where you are, even though sometimes we feel like chucking it all and moving to Bali. It's for women who are ready to step into who God called them to be. He chose you to be in this world. He created you for a specific purpose. God called us to be the light on a hill, and by embracing who you are and whose you are, you can stand on that hill and shine. The best part, when you're standing next to another woman who's also on the journey, the world gets brighter. My name is Tami. I'm your host and a Master Certified Life Coach and a trained therapist. For over a decade, I've been helping women do just that. Step into who they're called to be and shine. Are you ready, friend, to start your journey? Let's do this. I realized that a couple of my podcasts, I've kind of got out of the habit of telling you where to find me at Tami Imlay Coaching on Instagram and Facebook, and I would love to see you there. I'd love to connect with you. I'm going to go in two ways for this podcast. The first thing I'm going to tell you, and really I'm going to ask you a question. Do you ever have one of those days that you're just really slow? And it's not because I'm being mindful and really taking in all of the moments of the morning, but it's just, I can't get my butt in gear. Like, I have been up for a couple of hours and I have done what I typically do in like 30 or 45 minutes in a couple of hours. And I mean, I did sit and I had a quiet time and I skipped the gym because I couldn't get out of bed. And I just was thinking about that, and then all of a sudden guilt starts creeping in saying, Tami, you have things to do today. You have a full day. You have things to record. You have people to talk to. You have emails to write. There's broken things in your website and in your business that today was the day you were going to start addressing them. And then I had to give myself a moment in there to remember that it's okay, that I'm not behind, that I'm not, there's always a to-do list, always a to-do list. And there's always more to do. And so I had a couple of thoughts. And as I was praying today, and as I was doing my quiet time, it was talking about how our work is important for the kingdom. And one of the things that I pulled out of it that was not the intention of the devotional that I was doing, but I believe that God wanted to show me this. And he's like, you need to tell others as well. So a couple of things. One is sometimes when we start to really look at our purpose and calling, it can feel really heavy. It can feel really big, and it can feel very important. And so we slow ourselves down. Our brains go into survival mode because we can kind of see where it can lead. I was talking with a friend and she was talking about something she was doing. She's like, I know if I did it, I would succeed. And then what? And I was like, there's so many times that I slow myself down because I know I'm going the right direction. Because I know that what I'm doing, it can work. And I was like, okay, fixing things in my website, fixing things in my business, things that I want to focus on, things that I need to rewrite or rework, or people I need to not catch up with. Well, there's always people to catch up with, but people I need to reach out to and If I did that, then what? And so when you start to wake up to your calling and your purpose and you start to see the gravity of it, then like these struggles start to come, like internal and external, which I'll talk about in a moment, because the first thing that I kept realizing, and I looked to see how many times, because God calls us to do good work. He doesn't call us to do great work. Anytime he talks about great work, it's talking about him. And he's like, you just have to be good. Like, just do good work. In Ephesians, he talks about how, see, even my brain is slow today. I'm telling you, like, just the whole day, I have a feeling it's going to be slower, which is okay. I will learn and I will slow down and I will stop beating myself up for it, because there's a reason. I always ask, like, what am I supposed to see that if I was going fast, I would miss? But God created our work, right? Like we all are in agreement with, he created it before we even existed. He created it before we were conceived. He created it before we took our first breath. He already created our good work, and he gets to do the great work. One of the things that I tell a lot of my clients who are stepping into their purpose is our role is the obedience and the action. His responsibility, his heavy load is the outcome and results. We're not called to results. We're called to good work and to stay active. We're supposed to just keep moving forward, no matter how slow it may seem. We may be slowed down for a reason, because if we know that God may know that if I just went and started messing around with all this tech stuff, then I could break even more things. And let me tell you that the irony with that, because in my first life, when I was in the Air Force, I did tech stuff, like not super techie. I was more a project manager of the tech world, and I trusted my people to help me with the nitty gritty, but I still understood how things work together. Part of my job was to understand, like, I could speak engineer and I could speak geek and I could speak customer, because customers and, the people creating the background, the engineers, like, they typically did not speak the same language. And so, like, here I am, and I'm kind of rambling here, but I do have a point. I promise you I have a point. And just like, put yourself in my shoes for a minute. Like, how many times have you woken up with a full day, and then you woke up and you're like, I think it's going to take me a little while to get moving today. And ask yourself, like, what is it that you need to focus on? And so by not calling us to great work, he kind of relieves us of some pressure. And by calling us to the action and the obedience, and not the results or the results or the outcome or the ripple effects, those are his to take care of. And so when you have when you start to wake up to your purpose and calling, and even so, like, let me give you a little even insight. We all have the same purpose. And it's the calling that gets to be unique. So we always like, what is our purpose? And I need to know our purpose. And I love studying and understanding my purpose. And I love helping others discover theirs. And it's really so funny, because we start with something really big and then we narrow it down. But your purpose is to be obedient and to love people. It's the great commandment, right? Like, if we boil it down to, if we do anything, if that's our focus, it's good enough. But it's the calling, it's the unique abilities he's given us. It's the unique perspective, it's the highlights. And I was talking with someone yesterday about how they started mentioning things that, like, themes of their life. And I was like, well, those are God highlights. And she's like, what do you mean by that? I'm like, we'd all take things for granted. There's so many things in each of us that we take and we don't quite understand. We understand it. We kind of downplay it, because as a female, as a woman, a lot of us haven't been pushed to be upfront. Like, we are workers, we are doers, we manage and care and take care of, and we build behind the scenes. And a lot of times to be in front of the scenes, be in front of the curtain, be on stage, be proverbial, the metaphorical on stage is difficult, but we're given these things, these strengths, and we take them for granted because they are so easy for us. These highlights, these themes that God has placed in your life, that your entire life, not just big circumstances, you can see them stronger. I think through trials is when those highlights like are bolded for us. But we talked and I asked her some questions and she realized that it's something that has been cultivated in her whole life. Looking at this and how her life has has built to this moment where she's stepping into something that's pretty darn cool. And I just getting to help her see the highlights is so fun. We all have them. And again, this is another tangent. I'm telling you, my brain today, but this highlight idea, think of some themes. This is something that I do and with my clients. This is something as we look at things that you've been through and some of the things that you've noticed in this. And because you can have two people experience the same trial, the same experience, the same thing, and God highlights two different aspects to them. And that's where our calling is founded. That's where our calling and our strengths and our gifts and our talents, that's where we really become ourselves, is when we start to understand these highlights that God has given us. And so as I was looking and as I was thinking, okay, what is good work versus great work? What is obedience versus results? What is, when we look at let's pare down our responsibility and stop making it such a big deal, because the big deal part is God's, like the great part, the outcome, the results. He will direct your paths and he will use everything for good. And we get to wake up in the morning, push past our feelings and act. We get to look and see, okay, what is the most important task for today? How do I work for God today? How do I serve my family today? How can do I need to get my butt in gear, or does it mean that I get to slow down and work towards something that I really want to versus all the things that I feel like I have to? And there is a difference there. Think about some of the things that you have to do and how much we dread those. And then you think of the things that you really want to do and how we don't typically get to those often. The things we want to do really go on the back burner and kind of simmer until we get the things we have to get done. Well, I was thinking about this. It's like, well, my day is definitely like, I'm the slow one. My day is not slowing down. It's just me. But what if I balanced it? And what if I really looked at, okay, what absolutely has to get done? Because I've already lowered my expectations for the day, my intention for the day, to see that I'm not going to be able to get all the things done that I wanted to. But I can get a couple of things done that are important. And what if I get to throw in there something that I really want to do as well? And feel good about it. And so, it's all good. It's all good. And so when we look at our purpose and calling, you look at your day and okay, it has not eluded me that our year 2024 is almost half over already. I will talk about that in another podcast and what we can do to redeem our first half. And because I know I'm not at my goals for this year. I'm close. I have actually worked steadily towards my goals more fervently and more consistent this year than I have in the past. I think part of it is because consistent has been my word of the year. So just slow and steady. And then that's how our purpose and our calling comes as well. That's how we get over some of these struggles and these obstacles that come when we start to step into our calling. And that's the second part that I wanted to talk about today, is just this, when we start to look at the importance of our calling, because it is important. One is life's work. We're meant to do good work. We're meant to do things that are important. We're meant to move the kingdom forward. We're meant to serve the people around us. we are, and we're meant to feel good about it. Like it's fulfilling to serve others. I was talking with, I went this past Saturday, I went to a conference, a little retreat that my friend puts on. She created this, the Precious Legacy and Foundation. And that's another conversation. I'm trying to get her on the podcast so she can talk about how it came about, because she's had this great idea. God highlighted to her this idea and this need. And then when she was like trying to find someone to do it, it was like door closed, door closed, door closed. And it's like, oh, I guess I'm supposed to be the one to do it, and how that came about. But well, I'll talk. I'm going to get her on the podcast. She's a little shy about that, but it's okay. It'll happen anyway. But when we're stepping into our calling and our purpose, like struggles come, it feels good. And then our brains get in the way. The devil, the enemy gets in the way, because what's really true is we don't have to do these grand things. If we have slow, consistent progress, slow, consistent obedience, slow, consistent actions, God can turn the slow, good tasks that we do into great mountains. He can move the mountains. And so I just wanted to talk about a couple of the internal and external struggles. And then and just encourage you to know that you can overcome them by slow, steady action. So let's start with external first, because when we start to look at our calling, we start to see the importance, and we want to leave a legacy. We want what we do to mean something, and we want it to amount to something. We want to feel like that we matter. And you do. Your work matters, no matter how seemingly little it is, or how, no matter what. Like even if you're a painter, like you paint houses, and that work that you do is so important for the kingdom. And there's so many ways, and that's a whole nother podcast, so I won't go into that right now. But let's talk about the external. When we start to step into our calling, we start to step in and we start to notice what our true purpose is, and we start to do it. We first, the how. We get so stuck. I get so stuck on, how am I supposed to make this happen? We have time issues, we have resource issues, we have skills, we have responsibility issues, when it's like, well, how can I work on this when I've got all of, these long list of things to do, all the hats that I'm wearing. And it's like, well, God doesn't call us to do everything in every category. And this is where this good versus great came in. And when he highlighted that for me today, I was like, of course, if we try to be great in everything, we're actually not good at anything. But when we take slow steps and we focus on the task at hand, the action at hand, the obedient step in front of us, and we make it good, we step in, we're like, okay, we're going to set down some of these external struggles, and we're going to push through some of the internal struggles, which some of the internal struggles are perfectionism. Anyone else suffer from that? I know I do. I want it to be good. I want it to be great. And this is where I'm going to start reminding myself, and I have it written down. I'm going to write it every day, that my job is good, not great. Like, we'll leave the great to God, because it's so much easier to do something if we don't put the pressure on us to do it so well. Remember, he takes it and he can elevate it. He's got the abundance. We just get to do the action. The guilt. This one, we've talked about it before. Mom guilt it's heavy, ladies. But the guilt that comes in that, well, if I start to work on something that I want to work on, something that I feel selfish, if I work on myself, then I'm being prideful, or I'm taking away resources or time from those around us. And it's not true. Those are lies that the enemy wants us to think, because honestly, when I stop to take care of myself, like, a couple things happen. One is God removes things from me that are not my responsibility. When I take time to slow down and I look at, okay, how did God wire me? What are my motivations? What are my core fears? How am I leaning into my fears? Am I on the stress path or am I on my growth path? If I start to look internally at what's going on, he typically will show me things that I can set down or where I got off track. And then once I get back on track, I get to serve in a greater capacity. I get to feel good. I get to have my cup filled so that way I can pour out on others as well. And so this guilt that we feel, like, get rid of it. And I'm saying that to myself too. But then the fear and inadequacies, and then it goes back to it's like a circle, internal, external, internal, external. We can find an external problem for everything internal. Like, our brains are going to prove us right. So if we start looking at ways that we're inadequate, our brains are going to show us all the skills that we're lacking. But again, if our goal is good, not great, we can take an action step and we can go forward with it. And so as I wrap up today, and I know, I hope this is helpful. I hope that you see how my brain works, because today I am super slow today and even making connections. But the fact that today is going to be a good day and God can turn into a great day by me just taking one step. I don't have to look at my whole to-do list. I get to look at what's right in front of me and do it good enough. And if I just I get to focus on the fact that God can turn it from good to great. I don't have to do that. I get to take actions. I get to take steps. I get to set down things that I really don't need to be done today. These extra things that would be nice, but not going to happen. I get to take a moment and sit and have a cup of tea with my daughter when she wakes up. I get to go, and I'm getting ready to take my son to go and look at some colleges, which I'm super excited about, and also a little scary. I know he's going into his junior year, but he's visual. And I know that in order for him to start getting excited about the future instead of the weight of it, he needs to start seeing what's possible. And so the best way to do it is, let's go with friends and look at some colleges. Let's see what the campuses look like and what's possible. And so I'm going to do that, which is another reason why I needed today to be productive, because I leave for, actually I'm gone for like 48 hours. He's going to be gone a little bit longer because the little booger is going on a cruise with a friend as well. I hope he has a great time. But yes, this calling and purpose thing, it's a bigger deal. And when we make it a great deal, we build it up in our minds and we don't simplify, we allow it to hold us back. We allow it to slow us down. We allow it to keep us from acting because we feel like we're going to do the wrong thing. Our steps, we can take any step, and if we have the right motive, God will direct it. He will direct our paths. He will tap us into place. He restores. He is a God of restoration. And so let's not fear the steps we take. In fact, I'm more afraid that I don't move forward than I do. I fear more those steps that I don't take, because then that's not, I don't get to see God orchestrate them and fix them when I take the wrong step or take a side step instead of forward step. But one of the things that I want to leave you with is that we don't have to get it right. He's not calling us to do amazing things. He's calling us to do the next thing. He's calling us to take one obedient step at a time. He knows we have 2 feet. We can jump with both feet. We can even do like a jumping jack where we're jumping in 2 directions at one time. But we can only do that for so long. Really, it's when we take one step at a time. That's when we can continue on the journey. It's when we can take one step after another, and He is going to direct our paths. He is going to redeem everything that we do. And our purpose is really just to love people and love Him. Our calling is the unique way we get to do that. And it's really fun. We got to bring the fun back into this, because God is a God of creativity and art and look at and detail. Look at the detail. And so we get to have fun figuring out what details did he create in us? How creative has he been with us? Because if he's going to be creative with the birds, he's going to be creative with us as well. And we just get to see the highlights. We get to take the step. We get to just moment by moment continue to show up and take a breath and say, okay, God, send me. Here I am. When we do that, things start to work without us forcing it. Things start to go together without us trying to make it happen and stress and hustle. And yes, really, days that I work the hardest, they're like a good hard workout makes me feel so good. When I have some focus time and I focus on a task and I complete it, it feels good. But it also feels really good just to say, okay, Tami, one step today. Let's just take one step forward. And then when that's done, I'll take the next step as well. It just needs to be good. And so I just want to leave you with that. I just want to leave you with that today. And sorry, I've mumbled or not mumbled, but I rambled today. I hope that you got something out of this. I hope that you're motivated and inspired to see that these internal and external struggles, we're going to have them, but we can overcome them by taking one step forward. Or we can overcome those external and internal struggles by knowing that we don't have to get it right. We just get to do it. We don't need to know the exact right way. We just get to go in with the right heart, take a step forward. And so how can you take a step forward today? That's your journal question. I want you to take a moment and think about what's one thing that God's been calling you to do that you haven't done because you don't know how, because you don't know how to do it perfect, because you don't really know the right way to do it. You kind of have an idea, but what is one thing He's calling you to that you can do today? All right, friend, with that, there are a couple of things. One is if you start to feel like you have this calling or purpose and you want to explore it. And another thing that happens with this that I've noticed is that this calling or purpose, it typically leads to freedom. It typically leads to a possibility, a route that gives you financial freedom, spiritual freedom, relationship freedom, time freedom, all of these freedoms that you can experience. So if you want to start looking and you feel this, like, Tami, I have this need for more and I don't know where to start, reach out to me. And in July, I am putting a group together. It's going to be a small group, but it's going to be powerful. It's something that I have been doing with my individual clients. And it has been such a powerful work that I want to share it with you. I want to help you go from having a slight idea, a calling or a purpose. We may not know exactly what it is, which is fine because we will find that out during this process, during this group container. But then also it's like, how can we turn it into a business? How can you actually become free by stepping into your purpose and your calling? How can you make money from it? And how can you have the life that you get to live instead of just manage by stepping into your calling? And so if you are interested in this, get on a call with me. This is the way that you will be able to get in this. Because again, it's going to be a very small group. I have a couple of people already who are signed up and I am super excited to go on this journey with them. One of them knows kind of what she wants to do. One has no idea, just knows that God has something planned for her. And so if you also are thinking if you have something and you're just like, I know that this can be more. I know that I need to, this idea, how does it fit into my purpose? Contact me, DM me. TamiMurrayCoaching.com is my website. DM me on Instagram. That's the fastest way, even other than DMing me on Facebook. Whatever reason, Instagram is way easier. So reach out and let's talk about what's possible and don't wait any longer to discover your purpose. It brings me joy every day to know that I am living my purpose. There's days that are harder than others, some days that are really easy, but overall the joy that is there whether it's easy or hard. That's there whether I'm having a slow day like today or a day that I'm like, okay, let's get things done. And I'm motivated to move and just take action. But I would love to connect with you. I would love to talk with you. And so reach out to me. Let's do a 20-minute call. It's free. I promise you, you'll walk away with that 20 minutes knowing your next step. So anyway, with that, friend, choose joy until joy chooses you. And I will talk to you soon. Bye for now.